Jenny, whenever you're ready.
Can I just, like, before I start, does anyone have, like, a funny joke or something? Because I'm kind of nervous. And I think it'll make me feel more comfortable. Are you filming right now? I'm sorry.
You ever seen an elephant hiding in a cherry tree? Because you're really good at it.
Okay, I think I'm a little bit better.
Let's wait till Kara sits down.
Yeah. The joke was for good then. The joke was for good then. It's like,
Yay!
yeah.
Do you want me to start this over?
Yeah, you can press, I don't know, just press it again, it's fine.
Bella was always my favorite Disney princess. Her story was flawless, or so I thought, until I saw a video by John Cozart called After Ever After, which completely changed my mind.
The prince was absolutely the only single wish my heart made. Yes, my wish came true. But we never really talked much before he discovered my shoe. The night after we got married, I recounted all of my plights, of how I fit inside a pumpkin, my canines turned to coachman. Prince threw me in bed alone at night.
I was shocked. I'd never seen Cinderella as a slightly nutty damsel in distress before. John Cozart's videos opened my eyes and made me realize that my favorite childhood movies might have some issues. Today, I would like to persuade you to see how Disney movies can negatively impact the way we view ourselves and others. Now, before you go thinking my speech is unreasonable, I would like to clarify that I'm not here to make you dislike Disney. However, I would like to persuade you to consider that some of the ideas that you have today may stem from movies you watched as a child. As college students, we're expected to analyze our beliefs. By dissecting Disney movies, we can gain a better understanding of why we think and feel the way that we do. As a fellow Disney fan, I would be the first to say that Disney movies are flawless and full of good intentions. However, after watching John Cozart's videos and doing much research, I believe I am qualified to persuade you to see that Disney movies have a darker side to them as well. Disney movies negatively mold the way we perceive ourselves and others in two ways. They encourage us to judge others based on physical appearance alone, and they tell us how to behave based on the way our respective genders are portrayed. The first way Disney movies negatively impact us is through the appearance of those who get a happily ever after and those who do not. It's no secret that the heroes of Disney movies are young and physically attractive, while the villains aren't so much. A 2010 study published in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology found a correlation between a character's goodness and their physical appearance. Additionally, this study concluded that physically attractive Disney characters are credited with more positive qualities and experience more satisfying life outcomes, while less physically attractive characters are seen as aggressive and unhappy. An example of this would be Snow White and the Evil Queen. Snow White is a pretty princess who gets a happily ever after, but the Evil Queen gets called unfair, and you don't really hear much about her after that. Furthermore, a 2003 study published in the American Journal of Family Therapy found that Disney movies regularly have a theme of love at first sight. What this tells us as viewers is that physical attraction is more important for a relationship than emotional connection. Lastly, Disney movies regularly incriminate and stereotype their older characters as well. A 2007 study published in the Journal of Aging Studies found that 42% of all Disney elderly are portrayed as grumpy, evil, sinister, and senile. Each of these studies show that Disney movies tell us what's on the outside is more important than what's on the inside. Now that we've considered how Disney movies negatively mold our impression of ourselves, let's discuss how Disney movies affect our opinions of ourselves by gender stereotypes. Disney movies regularly portray their female characters as damsels in distress and their male characters as the rescuers. A 2012 article published in a journal called Interdisciplinary Humanities claimed this is called the princess narrative, or the portrayal of female characters as helpless and dependent on men. Additionally, this study found that of the first 3 Disney princess movies, 2 of the princesses are in a coma-like state for the majority of the movie. What Disney is telling their female viewers is that they can't accomplish anything on their own and they must depend on men to help them. Lastly, a 2016 article published in the Child Development Journal concluded that Disney movies are full of gender stereotypes, such as women being prim, proper, and dependent on men, and men being strong, brave, and dominant. In conclusion, we have examined 2 ways Disney movies shape our opinions of others by telling us that physical appearance trumps personality, and our opinions of ourselves through gender expectations. I hope you now agree that Disney movies negatively impact the way we view ourselves and others. Now when I see Cinderella, I don't just see a princess in a pretty dress. I see a slightly nutty, helpless princess in a pretty dress. Thank you.
Jakey.
Raise your hand if you agree with the quote, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." Many of you. However, today, after the speech, I hope that you would change your opinion about this subject. Today, I want to persuade you to read 1 book a month for pleasure. While all of you in this room may not enjoy reading, college is a time where you develop habits for the rest of your life, and I believe that making time to read is worthwhile. I feel confident in speaking to you about this subject today because I myself have read 1 book a month for the entirety of this semester. I've thoroughly researched this topic, and many of my role models consistently read. The 3 main reasons to read 1 book a month are to increase your cognitive skills, engage in a stress-relieving activity, and to expand your overall knowledge. First, the most impressive element of reading is its ability to increase your cognitive skills. Most importantly, reading increases your theory of mind. Theory of mind can be described as the ability to attribute mental states, beliefs, intents, desires, and etc. to oneself and discern why those are different than other people's beliefs. And this comes from a 2014 article from Psychology.com. In short, theory of mind is the idea of empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes so you can understand where they come from. That's a basic understanding that's very important to the human race in general, and I believe that that's very important to read and understand empathy. Moving on in the same article, it is said that reading activates neurons in the brain that stimulate a process called embodied cognition. Embodied cognition is when neurons in your brain are activated by reading that are normally only activated by physical activity. For example, if I went into my backyard and started dribbling a basketball or shooting a basketball, certain neurons would be engaged in my brain. Likewise, embodied cognition says that if I just read about those activities, the same neurons would be activated in my brain. Now that we've learned about the cognitive benefits from reading, let's take a look at how it reduces stress. Secondly, reading is the ultimate relaxation. Dr. David Lewis, a neuropsychologist from the University of Sussex, explained an experiment in his 2009 article. The experiment compared reading, listening to music, walking a dog, making a cup of tea or coffee, and playing video games. He examined the levels of stress that each activity would take away the level of stress, and he determined that reading decreased stress levels by 61%. However, most notably, he said that subjects only needed to read for 6 minutes to slow down heart rate and ease tension in muscles. That is a considerable amount of time that's shorter than it would take to really get into a video game, or to really take your dog on a long walk, or to make a cup of tea or coffee. 6 minutes is easily the shortest amount of time you can decrease your stress in. In a 2016 article, The Power of Pleasure Reading, it's argued that immersive pleasure is the key to successful reading. Immersive pleasure can be described as getting very invested in a type of entertainment. Whether it's reading, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's watching a play, it's becoming invested in the characters and what happens to them, to the point that you actually care and you're like you get emotional about it. The best way I could bring this up to a group of college students would be talking about Netflix. When you're watching your favorite Netflix series and a cliffhanger episode comes on and you know that you should probably go to bed, but you continue to watch and stay up later than you should, that is immersive pleasure. And since you now know that reading can be a calming activity, let's move forward and learn about how we can expand our knowledge. Reading has the ability to grow one's knowledge in a plethora of different ways. And now, I know you may be thinking, JP, I'm a busy college student, I simply just don't have the time to really make time to read. And I know exactly where you're coming from, but I don't necessarily agree. I think the situation is summed up best in a 2011 article from Reading, Risk, and Reality. A student is quoted saying, "Not enough physical hours in the day to do much else, but go to class, do homework, and occasionally sleep." While I think this quote is funny and somewhat true, it's not really that accurate. Moving on, in 2017, lifedev.net is quoted saying, "No matter what you're wanting to do or become, you can't do it without more knowledge." And to illustrate this point, I've brought you 3 books today that I've read in part. The first book is from the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis and it's Prince Caspian. I read this book just for my immersive pleasure. It didn't bring me much knowledge, but I really dived into the book and related to the characters and enjoyed it. The second book is called The Man in the Middle, and it's an autobiography by Timothy S. Joglin. And he's a man who worked his way up from a small town in a rural part of, I think, Tennessee, actually. And he ended up working in the White House, but then got convicted of plagiarism. And it's his story of redemption and how the president treated him. So that's an autobiography. And the last book is The Reason for God by Timothy Keller, Belief in an Age of Skepticism. And I read this book for personal gain, just to learn more about my own spiritual beliefs. This is just a very small sample size of the different kinds of books that you can read to increase your own knowledge. In summary, we've learned that the 3 most prevalent reasons to read 1 book a month for pleasure are the strengthening of cognitive skills, the ability to engage in a stress-relieving activity, and the opportunity to learn more. Today, I hope that you will choose 1 book for the month of December to read and continue to read 1 book a month for the rest of your life. At our university, we have a large library, Hodges Library, and it has a pleasure reading section located on the 2nd floor near Starbucks. If you don't know where the pleasure reading section is, I'd love to speak to you after class and direct you to it so that you can get 1 book a month to read. I hope that after this speech you will agree that 1,000 words are much more valuable than a picture. Thank you very much.